Yo, what's good? We're going to be talking about my keybinds. So we'll go top down, make it easy. I'm going to explain to you why you should copy the logic and not copy my keybinds, okay? I'll go into detail. I'm not going to go crazy in detail because if you're trying to go into that level of detail, get some coaching. NoGenerals.com. W, A, S, and D is default. Never will change them. Smooth lean right, smooth lean left. It's E on 2, right? The reason it's 2 instead of something more traditional like Q is because my hand is naturally big, so my finger rests on 2 rather than it resting on Q. So it doesn't really matter. Again, you don't want to copy my controls, you want to copy the logic up behind the controls, okay? That's important. E and 2, it doesn't matter. Now, the reason it doesn't matter because it's not at the traditional lean peak, like the regular leans. It's slow leans. So the reason you can afford it being on E and 2, like me, or E and Q, is because you're not going to be moving and using these at the same time, which is why I tell you to separate your lean peaks. For example, put them on mouse. Slow leans, you're not going to be needing to put them on mouse because you're not going to be using them while you're moving at the same time. Do you understand? So lean right, lean left. It's on mouse, obviously. Generally, it's better having it on mouse. You can do some weird stuff like having it on Q and E and invert it, or put it on C or V or whatever. Generally, it's just better separate the movement completely so you can do them both simultaneously. Whatever's comfortable to you, I just recommend putting it on mouse. Yeah. Walking is on continuous. It's on caps. I used to have it on press, but for me specifically, I don't use it a lot. So to make keybinds in this game a little bit more efficient, putting them on continuous usually does that instead of me clicking the button twice after slow walking. You want to slow walk and then unslow walk after making a push. Holding it down and letting go is just a lot quicker than pressing it twice. Yeah. Sprint is also on continuous for the reasons I said before. It's just more efficient. A lot of the time I see issues where people have their sprints on shift and it's press. It's because it's on press, right? So I'd recommend just looking into that. If you feel like you're sliding all over the place, your movement's sloppy, having it on press contributes to that big time. I've coached hundreds of people. Something similar to this is aiming, having it on press as well. A lot of the time I see people that have issues related to aiming, it's because they have it on press. So just look out for that, yeah? If you think your movement's sloppy, try switching the keybinds, putting it on continuous. Jumping is on space, it's on press. It's default, same, nothing special. Vaulting is on V, nothing special. Crouching, control, I have it on press. Now I have this one on press instead of continuous is because I'm going to be using this while I'm moving at the same time. So I don't want to be sacrificing one of my fingers to put it on control and leave it there and hold it because you're going to be sacrificing movement. Again, about my play style, I want to be moving as quick as possible and have as much fluidity as possible. So freeing up a keybind, putting control on press instead of continuous works out well for me. I use my pinky for control. I also use it for shift. So me saving time, not having to hold down control just makes sense because I can hit the shift key quicker. With the way I play, it really comes down to milliseconds. So any sort of milliseconds or seconds I can save with my keybinds, I'm going to make that adjustment. And that's why my keybinds are as weird as they are now because it's the most efficient for me. Again, don't copy my keybinds. Copy the logic behind them. Yeah. Prone is on X. I don't know if that's default. Maybe. X just works well for me. Sidestep right is on P. It's on press. I don't utilize this as much as I used to, which is why I don't have any other sidestep binded or blind fire binded. It's very, very situational that I even use this keybind, which is why it's on P. You're not going to be utilizing this while you're running and moving. You're going to be stationary and using it. So it doesn't have to be a key that you immediately have to press. Yeah. Actually, now that I remember, a lot of the default keybinds in this game, they're no good because they're like infused with critical movement keys. Like for example, A and D, critical, right? Move left and right. A and D is also binded to sidestep right and left. I think it's A plus shift or A plus alt or whatever. I recommend removing the keybinds that overlap with other keybinds you use because it does add a delay. The time it takes for the game to realize what you're doing, it's just a waste of time. Like it'll take the game a couple milliseconds to decide what you want to do, even when you just want to move left and right. So I recommend just getting rid of those keybinds. Alt A, Alt D, just delete them. If you don't use them, delete them, which is why you see a couple red lines in my settings. It's because these keybinds just serve me no purpose. And instead of me adding a delay with the game, trying to figure out what keybinds I want to press, just get rid of it so there is no delay. Next, walk pose and previous walk pose. It's basically just the crouching heights. So the way I have this binded is I'll hold control down and then I'll press a button on my mouse. Obviously, I'm not pressing / and I'm not pressing the arrow key on my keyboard. These key binds are just binded to other buttons on my mouse. Does that make sense? So you can call them macros, you can call them key binds, whatever you want, right? I'll put it in perspective. The mouse I have, let me see if I can pull up like a visual reference, because a lot of people don't know what kind of mouse I have. This is the mouse I got, G502X, a lot of buttons on it. So obviously there is no mouse buttons beyond mouse button 4. Like there is no mouse button 5, 6, 7, 8. So you have to use key binds on your keyboard to put on your mouse. Yeah, I prefer the mouse with a lot more buttons on it than some lightweight. Just works out for me. You're definitely more limited if you're using a super light. It doesn't have nearly as many buttons as I do. But anyway, shoulder transition. I'm actually surprised I got this one binded. The only reason it's binded actually is because I was testing something. Usually I just have this unbinded. I don't recommend having this binded. I don't use it. If you're trying to go more into detail and figure out what I mean by that and have me explain it, get some coaching, right? I'm not deep diving into that right now. Next in previous keys, it's very similar to how the next walk pose keybinds work. It's just keybinds I have binded on my mouse, and I have to press a certain combination of buttons for it to do this action. There's a certain word I'm looking for. I haven't been able to think about it, but maybe you can think about it for me, chat, so I can start using it now. It's a button to where the game, it's only there so the game understands what I want it to do. So control is there. I use control arrow down, and control is the median so the game knows what I want to do. And then I have R shift and arrow down. R shift would be the median so the game knows what to do. Median, I don't think is the right word though. I don't know, man. I don't know. There's a certain word I'm looking for. It's on the tip of my tongue, but I just can't remember what it is. Just can't remember what it is. Anyway, I'll say this again just so it's super clear. Next in previous keys, I press a certain keyboard. Fuck's sake. No, I press a certain keyboard. Make that mistake again, sucker. Talk properly. Next in previous, right? I press a certain keybind on my keyboard so the game understands what I want it to do. So the keybind in question is R shift, just like it was left control. R shift, I don't use it on my keyboard. It's just a keybind binded on my mouse. So I press that, and then I press the same keybind that I use for walk pose. But I'm just not pressing control. I'm pressing a different button, which is R shift, which is binded on my mouse. Does that make sense? Mount weapon, input key, you can call it what you want. You can call it what you want. It's basically just so the game understands what I want it to do. Like a modifier, I guess. Like a modifier. You can call it what you want. You can call it keybinds, macro keys. A lot of people will get the terminology mixed up. You can call it what you want. I'll get into that towards the end though. Mount weapon is apostrophe. I don't use it often. Definitely not going to be using it while you're mid-fight. So you can afford it to be a keybind on the far right of your keyboard. Yeah. Firing, aiming, left mouse button, right mouse button, nothing special. I would recommend having it on continuous though. Reload is R. I don't use emergency reload, quick reload. I just use R, right? Switch fire mode is on N. Set fire full auto is also on N. The way I have this set up, I got switch fire set to double click. And if you copy the way I have it set up here, if you click N once, the gun's just going to go to full auto. If you double click it, it's going to go to single. So I don't have to think about it and fluctuate between the modes and cycle it. Just click once for full auto, click twice for single, right? Made that real simple. Check firing mode, I have it on B. I use this a lot. Definitely use it more than checking or switching the firing mode. I check the fire mode way more than switching it. Because again, it's a sound cue that you get every time you switch the firing mode of the weapon. The sound cue is just free information you're giving away. If I kill somebody, you pick up their weapon, I want to check if it's in full auto. So instead of me making that sound cue, giving away information for free, I'll just check the firing mode, which is a less distinctive sound cue. Next, in previous magazine, I don't use it. I can keep track of my own mags without the game's assistance. Detaching magazine is quotes. Same reason as apostrophe, I don't use it a lot. I do use it, but not mid-fight, so you can afford it being a keybind that far away from your movement keys. Unload chamber, J, same thing. Check chamber, fix malfunction, same thing, same logic. Switch between the sights, menu plus mouse wheel down. So it's very similar to R shift and L control. So a lot of people asking me about what the menu is on my settings. Menu is just an extra keybind that comes on my keyboard, specifically the Wooting 60HE. I don't actually press it on my keyboard though. With the way it works is I'll use smooth zooming, for example. So whenever I'm aiming in, I press the right mouse button. I have menu binded to the right mouse button too. So whenever I aim in, menu gets pressed. When the menu gets pressed, scrolling in and out activates the zoom. Right, so menu is just there so the game understands when I'm aimed in and when I'm not. The reason I have to do this is because I use scroll wheel to also change weapons. So whenever I'm not aiming in, menu's not getting clicked. It allows me to change weapon. Whenever I'm aiming in, menu gets clicked. The game knows I'm aimed in, so it allows me to zoom in with the same scroll wheel. It's the same thing, having it on mouse wheel down, plus menu, and then just mouse wheel down. I use it for scope elevation as well, just changing the range of my scope. I don't use this one as much though, but same logic applies. Exact same thing, except it's just 1 and 3. Inspecting current weapon, H and Y, put it on release. You're not going to be using it mid-fight, so you can put it on whatever you want. Folding, unfolding stock, it's the same thing. Have it on L. Toggle bipod. I will only use it if I kill somebody, pick up their weapon, and I want to utilize it, which is why I have it on U. Other than that, I wouldn't have it binded because I don't use it a lot at all. Swapping weapons between the primary and secondary, have it on scroll wheel. I can have it on scroll wheel because of the system I set up back here. Mouse wheel plus menu, right? Melee weapon, sidearm, a melee attack. Instead of this being a double keybind, it's a triple keybind. So the way this works is if I don't have a pistol on me, the game's going to swipe my melee real quick, like a quick attack. If I have a pistol on me, the game's going to pull out the pistol. And if I have a pistol, but I want to pull out my melee, just double tap 1, right? Double click 1 will bring out my melee weapon. So 1 keybind for 3 different purposes, and it works well. Preparing a grenade, G is default. Toggle head equipment, mouse wheel down. We talked about that. Enable, disable VoIP, don't use it. Have it always on. Push to talk is on I, have it on my mouse. Toggle tac devices is on Alt. Now this one, I'm not going to get into detail. You can get some coaching to figure this out and explain it to you. But I'll go into it a little bit. Default, what is default keybind for this toggle tac devices? It is T, yeah. It's T by itself. So I recommend changing it to a keybind you're comfortable with, because if you have it on defaults and it's T, you're not going to be clicking it on and off when you're moving around and pushing a fight because it's that far away, right? So I recommend swapping this to a keybind that doesn't interfere with your movement keys. Toggle helmet tactical device. I don't use it a lot, so I can afford to have it on comma. Doesn't matter. Switch helmet tac device, tactical device activation mode. Don't use these things. Don't use them. Free look is on C. I don't remember what the default is for free look. I think C is default for crouch though. I think C is default for crouch. It's mouse wheel down. Yeah. C works well for me. I recommend having it on a keybind that doesn't interfere with your movement keys though. Whatever that is, you can figure that out. Check time is O. I also use O for check time and exits. I used to just disable check time and just use check time and exits because it's the same thing. But they added a new little timer on the bottom right of your screen when you press just check time. So now that they added that, it's just cool. I use them both. No costs, no nothing. So just activating them both. That's a double keybind there. Interact is F. That's default. Discard is semicolon. This one is binded to my mouse. I'm not actually pressing this on my keyboard. Drop bag is Z. By default is double tapping Z. There's a lot of different things you can optimize in your settings. For example, this is one of them. Why does it have to be double tap Z? It could just be Z press. Hold breath is bracket. Have it on press. Again, I'm not clicking bracket on my keyboard. It's too far away. I just have it binded on my mouse. It's one of the top buttons on my mouse. I did have the hold breath macro on my YouTube video. It's still valuable, just not to my gameplay anymore. I've exceeded that keybind. What I mean by that is there is negatives and positives to using that macro that I put on my YouTube a while ago, which is why I haven't taken it down, right? I'll explain to you how the macro works on Logitech so you can understand the negatives. So when you make a macro or a keybind on Logitech, it's not a copy and paste sequence or macro, keybind, whatever you want to call it. It's not that. Whatever you can do on your keyboard is what you can do in the software. So if you can't press 9 buttons at the same time on your keyboard, you can't do it in the software. So how it goes is, for example, right mouse button and then bracket for hold breath. If you put that into Logitech, it's going to press one of those first, and then it's going to press the next one in order, whatever that order is, whether it's bracket first or mouse button first or bracket first. It doesn't matter. Whatever you can achieve in the software is only what you can achieve on your keyboard. So that's why it is fair. Like, just because I have this set up in Logitech doesn't mean I can't click it on my keyboard. But that being said though, because it goes in order, there is a delay on aim because it goes in order. It doesn't just paste all the keybinds at the same time when you can do some ridiculous shit. It goes in order. So the longer that keybind is, or macro, whether you have 10 buttons on there, it has to go through all 10 buttons at the same time. So A, B, C, D, E, F, G, right? It's not instant. So the longer that macro is, the longer it take for it to complete. Even just having 2 keybinds, right mouse button, and then hold breath, it does add a delay. So that is one of the negatives of using it. I still recommend using it though. It is a good keybind. The only reason I set it up within Logitech is because I didn't want to press to aim and set it up within the game. If you use press to aim within the game, you can just set right mouse button to press and then hold breath to right mouse button release, and it's the same thing. I just didn't want to get used to playing that. It didn't make sense to me at the time. I was playing a bunch of different shooters. This will be the only shooter that I would press to aim. Like, it didn't make sense. So it's funny though, the people that naturally are used to press to aim and they use that for this game, they're actually at a big advantage. They had a big advantage because they hold breath at the same time they aim in, versus players that have it on continuous. Phrase menu is you, double click. It can be any keybind, it's not detrimental. Y is the same thing, double click. Toggle inventory is tab. Slot 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and 9. I put it on release. I recommend putting all of these on release, whatever your healing key is. Reason is, for example, if 4 or 5 is your Salewa key, if you have it on release, you hold it down and then use your next and previous keys while you're holding down your Salewa key. A little healing menu will pop up. A lot of people don't know about that. I'm surprised. I coach people all the time that don't know how to set it up. This is how you set it up, right? If your Salewa key is 5, put 5 on release, hold down 5, and then use your next and previous keys. It'll bring up the healing menu. Play tape, read note. Like, that don't quest, so it doesn't matter to me. Screenshot, delete. Icon toggles, don't use it. Console equals pin mode, lock mode, PL. Like, you're not gonna be using them in raid. How do you unset any action? You unset any action by, like, if I want to unset 2, for example, just rebind it to a key you're already using, preferably one in your screen already, like D, for example. So it's replaced it, and then set the original key, replaced it with back to that old key, and it gets rid of it. Right, so game settings, this is what I have set. Health condition, stamina, stance condition, always shown. Some people are gonna ask me why 74 FOV and not 75, max it out. What's the 1 FOV difference? FOV is completely preference. I wouldn't recommend going below 60 though. Below 60 FOV is when the negatives and disadvantages really start to reel in. Head bobbing, put that on the lowest possible. Graphic settings, they're solid. There's maybe 1 or 2 things I can change in the settings to optimize them for this wipe. These settings were optimized for last wipe. I haven't bothered this wipe though because there is bugs. For example, with FSR, I used to use FSR. I didn't notice any quality dip. Like, the games looked exactly the same, but my performance went up a little bit. So, which is why I used FSR. But FSR is bugged this wipe, and it makes scopes blurry and there's weird artifacts in the sky. So I just keep it off. Post effects, surprise, I don't use any, right? Post effects off. This is my sound settings. It's been the same for a while, man. Don't tweak this. Don't tweak this much at all. That's it, man. That's it. Ask me questions. How to fix malfunctions faster? You combined inspect weapon and check malfunction to the same keybind. So I got inspect current weapon set to H. I put that on release, and then check chamber / fix malfunction is also on H, but it's set to press. Doesn't have to be H. Again, with my keybinds, don't copy the keybinds, copy the logic. I guess we'll talk about sensitivity because it's also on this page. So mouse sensitivity, running around sense is 0.145, aiming is 0.125. That's just what I'm comfortable with. A lot of people dive way too deep into sensitivity. Like, it's really not a big deal, man. People will constantly swap their sensitivities every raid because it didn't feel right, and they're trying to find that perfect sensitivity, whether it's 0.199 or 0.201. Like, you're not going to find that perfect sensitivity. What I recommend for you is to pick a sensitivity you're generally comfortable with. You don't have to hit every shot. The accuracy will come. You just have to get used to it first. Train the muscle memory on a set sensitivity that's generally comfortable. And once you're comfortable and the muscle memory gets built around it, you can then fine tune it. You're not gonna find that perfect sensitivity. Like copying my sensitivity, it's not gonna be a perfect sense. Like preference does tie into this a lot. So I recommend just find a general sensitivity, play on it, right? Build the experience, build the muscle memory, and then you can fine tune it. Like for example, if perfect sensitivity did exist, right, and I just got lucky and found mine, like some people think, I wouldn't be changing it, right? I would never be changing my sensitivity, but I'm changing my sensitivity all the time. Sometimes I'll knock it up to my aiming, I'll knock it up to 0.127, or I'll knock it down to 0.12. It just depends on the day, man. Like sensitivity is not as big of an issue as people think.